Students, in this tutorial, we are going to study the two remaining concepts, polygenic inheritance and pleiotropy. These are the only two concepts that are remaining in this chapter now. So let's take a look first at polygenic inheritance. Now, if you remember, Mendel chose plants that had two distinct alternate forms of a trait. For example, if he chose a pea plant for his experiments, the pea plant would have flower color either white or purple. Or if he chose to study the trait of height, then the pea plant would either be tall or dwarf. But in nature, many traits don't just exhibit two alternate forms but are spread across a gradient. What does this mean? Let's take an example. So, in humans, we don't, if you consider the trait of height, you don't just have tall person and short person, but you will have people who are tall, who are short, and who are of intermediate or in between height. So there is a whole range of traits in between the two extremes. Okay, that is to be understood. So such traits are called as polygenic traits, and polygenic traits are named so because they are controlled by three or more genes. So this is the first thing to remember here. Polygenic traits controlled by three or more genes. Another thing to remember about polygenic traits is that they are influenced by the environment. Now, in this note, there is another example in humans only of a polygenic trait, and that is skin color. So, we all know that you don't just have very dark and very fair skinned people, but you have a whole range of skin tones in between, right? So, this is another example of polygenic traits in humans. So, suppose you take human skin color, it is controlled by three genes A, B, and C. So, a person who has dominant skin tones, okay, that means the genotype is dominant with all dominant alleles, will have the darkest skin tone. Whereas if the person has all recessive alleles in the genotype, he or she will have the lightest skin tone. So, if the case is heterozygous, that means the person is heterozygous, three dominant alleles and three recessive alleles, then such a person will have intermediate skin color. And accordingly, just like this, you will find that depending on whether you're more towards the dark skinned or more towards the fair skinned side, it will be determined by how many dominant alleles you have and how many recessive alleles you have. Okay, so the point we're trying to make here is that polygenic traits are such that they are spread across a gradient. And if you saw in this example, the phenotype is because of the contribution of each of the alleles. So the dominant and the recessive alleles will all express, and it will uh, give you or result in the phenotypic expression. So it's not that only dominant will express and recessive will be hidden, but in polygenic traits, each allele effect is added on the phenotype. Okay, so this is to be remembered. So this is also a kind of an example of incomplete dominance. Now, in the next concept, pleiotropy, which we have already done before, we had done this and we are revising it again. A single gene will affect or exhibit multiple phenotypic expressions. So, if a single gene is capable of affecting more than one traits, we call it as a pleiotropic gene. How does it do it? It's because this gene will have an effect on the metabolic pathway. And because it has an effect on the metabolic pathway, it will exhibit or contribute towards different types of phenotypes. Let's take an example to understand this statement. Phenylketonuria is a disorder that we have already studied, and we have said that this disorder is because this particular enzyme, phenylalanine hydroxylase, is in uh, in insufficiently synthesized. Okay, or in some individuals it may be totally absent. So because of this, you know that phenylalanine, which is an amino acid, cannot be converted to tyrosine, which is another amino acid, and it leads to accumulation, causing mental retardation, reduction in hair and skin pigmentation. So in other words, what we're saying, these are your phenotypic expressions, and a single mutated gene, so a single mutated gene is causing these different phenotypic effects. So this again becomes an example of pleiotropy, where a single gene affects more than one phenotypic traits or phenotypic expressions, you can say. In plants, we have come across this example of starch synthesis in pea, and we had said when I was explaining this, I had told you that this is an example of pleiotropy because a single gene is controlling two things. It is controlling starch synthesis, okay, and it is also controlling the shape of the plant, shape of the starch grain. So, a plant that is homozygous dominant will have proper synthesis or efficient synthesis. As a result, you will get large and round starch grains. So, see, the starch synthesis and the shape is being controlled here. If it is a recessive plant, then it will have lesser starch efficiency and wrinkled seeds. So again, controlling the starch synthesis and the shape. And if it is a heterozygous plant, it will have more or less a good, efficient way of producing starch, but not as good as a homozygous dominant. Therefore, the seeds will happen to be of smaller or intermediate size as compared to a homozygous dominant individual. So, this again is an example of pleiotropy. So, this is an example of pleiotropy in plant, and we have studied one example of pleiotropy in animals.